All right, working on a proportioner today. I've had a little project I've been trying to get finished up. It's kind of been a slow process. So obviously a proportioner is in a stainless steel box like this. And this is upside down, obviously. This would be inverted the other way, but so all the guts are inside of this, and then it has a faceplate that goes in there to cover the valves and manifolds behind it. And the only thing you would see in front of these are the metering valve handles to turn your mix to whatever your desired solution strength is. The inside behind that plate basically looks something like this. So you have a top manifold, a bottom manifold, you have 3 check valves and 3 metering valves. You can see they're not all perfectly in line. The soap metering valve is offset just a little lower, and that's done by putting the check valve on the top side of the metering valve, and then your SH valve and your water valve, the check valve is on the bottom. So that's how they kind of create that offset. They're the exact same valves. So I took this one apart. I got it all cleaned up. This is actually a spare right now. It came off of one of our other rigs. It's no longer in service, and I'm going to modify it. I'm going to actually install some high flow metering valves that I've procured. It's a little bit different valve design, but it's also a metering valve. So one of the problems that I had, and the reason I'm doing this, is whenever I was running a light mix through a booster pump, the proportioner seemed to be starving the booster pump and not giving it the fluid that the pump wanted. And through testing with a flow meter, I figured out that through the pump, if I closed off 2 valves and only opened 1 valve at a time, it was giving the pump just over, basically right about 3 gallons a minute is what it would get. And the 1 horsepower booster pump likes to see at least 5 up to 7 GPM. So I'm going to install a different valve in there that's going to give me a little bit more flow, actually a lot more flow. And I'm going to leave the soap valve the same. And I'm just going to install the higher flowing valves on the water side and the bleach side, and hopefully that's going to fix up my problem nicely. But in any case, I just wanted to do a quick video to share in case you hadn't seen the inside of a proportioner. This is basically it. There's a couple of rivets you got to drill out to get to the inside and remove that faceplate, but it's really not that difficult. Once you get the faceplate off, there's 4 bolts, 1 in each corner of the manifold, that you have to remove the nut, and then the bolt goes through the manifold and through the backside of the stainless steel box. So basically you just need to punch those bolts out. They'll drop out the bottom, and then this whole assembly will come out in one assembly. And then to take it apart, let me see if I can get this set up here quickly. To take it apart, obviously all this would be connected, so these are just like unions here. Obviously everything's loose right now because I've already taken it apart and cleaned it, but you would just unscrew each side, and then the valve would lift out. That would separate there, that would separate there, and then the valve would just lift right out. And if you do that to all 3 of them, then you can pull the manifolds out in 2 pieces, be a little bit easier. But these metering valves, they're pretty simple, pretty basic design. You can see they have an O-ring on each side of the union there. And then these handles obviously pop off. These would be off first because you can't even get the top cover plate until you pull that T-handle off. And then this is the kind of the scale plate that shows you, where your mix is. So once those 2 are off, then you pull this valve out, then you can pull the rest apart. But it's a really neat design. Tim Asselton out of Tallahassee has an awesome thing going here with these things. but just trying to find a way to modify it a little bit for my needs and hopefully fix a problem that I'm having. But in any case, this is what the inside of a proportioner looks like, and it allows you to meter each one of your solutions individually. So the way these things are set up to work is you'll have one inlet hose coming off the top manifold going to your bleach tank, one hose coming off the top manifold going to your soap tank, and one hose coming off going to your water tank. And then it comes through your valves. It has one-way check valves to allow the liquid to flow one direction only. That way you don't end up introducing cross-contamination. Essentially, you'll have bleach going into your soap or vice versa. Get some weird things going on in your water tank. So that's the purpose of the check valves. And then once it passes through your metering valves, comes into your bottom manifold, it all comes into one outlet here, and then it comes from your outlet of your proportioner, which would be down at the bottom of that stainless steel box, and that will go to whatever dedicated pump of your choice, whether it's 12-volt booster, air diaphragm, Udor, diaphragm, whatever dedicated system you use. That's how they work.